Today I want to talk to you about the glorious clitoris. Could be the clitoris, the clitoris, the clit. It's that spot, ladies, that we want to get to know very well. And we want our partners to get to know very well, because that little clitoris, which you will soon learn is not so little, has the most nerve endings of any part of your body. And in fact, not clear what the numbers are exactly, but somewhere between 85 and 95% of women need clitoral stimulation in order to have an orgasm. Contrary to popular heterosexual male belief, just sticking that penis in your vagina ain't gonna cut it for a lot of us. Now, you may also like the feeling of having something inside your vagina. That combined with clitoral stimulation might be the way that works for you. However, the most important thing you need to know is you need to know all about why this little amazing organ is there, why it exists, and how you can learn to understand it better so that you could have better, more enjoyable sex. So the first thing I'm going to say to you is that the clitoris is the only organ, and only women have it, that is strictly for pleasure. Now, when I say only women have it, only vulva owners have it. But that organ, the clitoris, is strictly for pleasure. There is no other purpose. If you think of it in contrast to the male penis does a lot of things, right? Yes, it is the primary sex organ when it gets hard and it ejaculates, but it is also the place where semen comes out that inseminates an egg. It is also the place where urine comes out. There's a lot of functions of the penis, but the clitoris has only one purpose. Now, the tissue that the clitoris is made up of is the same tissue as the same erectile tissue as the penis is made up of. And at some point, as the baby is developing, when the Y chromosome gets put in the egg, then it turns into a penis. If it's just an XX, then we become women with a clitoris. It turns into a clitoris. So of course the male penis is an external organ. The clitoris is both external and internal. So I'm going to show you a couple of diagrams, and then I have an actual live model. No, don't get nervous. I'm not taking my pants down. But you really need to understand this beautiful, wonderful piece of anatomy that we have. All right. So I apologize for the black and white pictures, but this is the best I could find that would be able to be demonstrated. All right, so this is a vulva, right? So you might recognize it. Hopefully you recognize it, and if you don't, if you are a vulva owner, you should take a look down there. Yours may not look exactly like this, but in general, that is what it looks like. I just want to make sure I get it all right here. We got the direction right because I'm looking at it backwards. Okay, so up here, we've got what is called the mons. This is the pubic mons where your hair is. And then right as you enter the vulva area, you've got this little tip which sticks out on most of us. And it's also covered by a bit of skin, which is called the clitoral hood. Then you've got two sets of lips, the outer lips, which are the labia majora, and then the inner lips, which are the labia minora. You then have the vaginal opening, which is the vestibule, and then it goes back and you've got the perineum, which is between the vaginal opening and the anus, and then you have the anus, right? So popular belief would have it that this little thing here is your entire clitoris. Well, dig a little deeper and you will see that in fact, now you would be facing this way, that's the front, or lying flat. This little piece is the only thing we see, right? And it's covered by that hood. But actually the clitoris surrounds the vulva and the vagina. So the reason that you do get pleasure from vaginal intercourse or vaginal penetration, I should say, is that when something is penetrating the vagina, it is in fact still stimulating the clitoris, which is on the interior of the body, but you don't see it. So they didn't actually know a lot about clitoris until, I don't want to say recently, I don't know exactly when it was discovered that it wasn't just that little piece that's sticking out, but in fact, it is quite a, a significant structure that surrounds you, surrounds your vulva and vagina. And so when people refer to the G spot, what they're referring to is, if you think about sticking your finger in the vagina here and coming around, and this is the upper wall of the vagina, stimulating here is stimulating the clitoris, which is why it feels so good. And in fact, it is not a spot, as you can tell, it is a G area, and not everyone gets enjoyment from that, but many people many vulva owners will get pleasure from having that area stimulated. Same thing holds true of the vaginal walls, right? Not just the internal, external penetration, but the sides of the walls here, right? So understand that this is a much more intricate piece of equipment, shall we say, that us lovely women get that men don't have, and there's lots we can do with it. So here I have actually a live model. So here is a model of a vulva, and what you're seeing here, imagine, it actually on a woman, it goes like this, right? So this is the clitoris, which is covered by the hood, and then you've got an opening, and in that opening there's actually two holes, not like men who only have one hole for the urine, for the semen, everything comes out that one hole. We have two holes, the little one, which is where urine comes out, and the big one, which is where the babies come out, which is the vagina, which is where, when we are penetrated, that is where we're penetrated. So now if I turn this around, you can see that the clitoris actually surrounds that whole area. So you're being penetrated here, and if someone sticks their finger up inside, you can imagine that it's stimulating all of this, right? And this. So these are all pieces of your clitoris. So now I'm going to remove it just so you can see the magnitude of it, right? So it's this little thing, this is what you see, and this is what's going on inside your body. And so all of this is simply dedicated to your pleasure. And it is really important that you understand that, and that you learn not only how to stimulate it for yourself, but so that you can teach your partner. And I will also say that most men, or many men, a lot of men, especially, I'm referring to heterosexual men, I would imagine homosexual men have very little interest in learning about the clitoris, but hey, you never know. Most men do not know what the clitoris is, and if they do, all they know is that it's this. And so I would venture to say that many women don't know that either. So I would like you to learn about your glorious clitoris, because it is super important. There are somewhere between 10,000 plus nerve endings just in this little piece of clitoris. And so this is, if you want to have a more intense orgasm, you want all of this to be stimulated differently and separately and together and all at the same time. Now, when we go through menopause, things happen that make it uncomfortable. At certain times in our cycle, we may have more sensitivity. I know that happens with me. Sometimes I can't be touched. I know right after I orgasm, I definitely can't be touched. I'm very, very, very sensitive. And I like a very, very gentle touch, because my whole body, as I've aged, as I've gone through menopause and the skin has gotten thinner, everything is much more sensitive. You may be different. You may like a lot of really strong stimulation. You may like to have this little piece, which is kind of like that female penis. I'd like to say the male has the male equivalent of a clitoris, as opposed to the female having the female equivalent of a penis. So let's just call this the female, well, I'll call it the female penis. But anyway, sometimes when you get aroused, this will grow and get very hard. And particularly in some women, if you're taking certain hormones, this will get really big, and it's really, really feels good to have this stimulated, just like you would stimulate a man's penis. It feels really, really good, and that can help you orgasm. That, combined with maybe something internal rubbing in on the inside of the vaginal wall, all these things can lead to better sex. If you have a dry vagina as a result of menopause, you want to make sure you have a lot of lubrication. Now, sometimes lubrication is enough in the form of actually like a lube, or silicone and water-based lube, or you might need some hyaluronic acid to keep your vaginal walls and your vulva moisturized. Another way that happens is through using topical estrogen or estradiol cream, or systemic hormonal replacement. And I'm not going to talk about that now, but all these things affect your ability to feel good when you are getting your clitoris stimulated. All that being said, I want you to know your glorious clitoris. Here it is. If you have more questions, feel free to email me. Do your own research because it's really important. I encourage you to take a look down there. Take a mirror, look around, see what you see. Everybody's body is different, but every woman, every vulva owner has a glorious clitoris.